Soumya, Dr. Sundar Ram may conduct this session.
Now invite Dr. Prabhat Pankaj to provide his insights.
Thank you, sir. First of all, I would like to apologize for I'm not an expert in supply chain. I shared my view with Dr. Anuja that I'll be talking from the business school perspective. So I did some work on sustainability. So the idea that I'm going to present here is that India's G20 commitment on carbon neutral, that is sustainability side, the carbon neutral economy and the circular economy, and how businesses school can play a role in that. So that's basically I would like to focus on, and also like to share a couple of examples of how we are doing it here in our institute. So especially focusing on the academic institutions. So as far as carbon neutral economy and circular economy is concerned, I mean, these are very, very important commitment from India's side, and India stands tall on this front, as it is very much evident that the net zero world by 2050 commitment, India is not lagging far behind, and it's putting its best into it. And it's also evident from the fact that more than 70 countries constituting about 80% of the global CO2 emissions, and these countries are actually constituting about 90% of GDP, and they have put commitment on the net zero on the table, and this is very, very significant. And India is actually leading from the front on this commitment. And then when we look at the private companies as they are committing about the net zero, is almost like more than 5,000 companies have already actually put in their commitment on that. So where is the business school role fits into it, and how we can contribute to this India's objective or India's leadership on this sustainability front, which actually constitutes about two things, especially the carbon neutral economy and towards the circular economy. So this is basically I would like to focus on. So it all started with the Panchamrit pronouncement that our Prime Minister has done in COP26 summit in Glasgow. And if you look at the Panchamrit, basically it enshrines the principles that can be looked upon by any business school for that matter in a practical sense of the term. The Samman is the first Panchamrit the Prime Minister talked about, which is dignity and honor, and is very much doable. And business school must orient its entire functioning towards ensuring the dignity and honor of all the stakeholders. Second is Samvad. He talked about the engagement and dialogue. Of course, we know that is at the heart of collaboration, and this is very much needed to forge upon. The third he talked about was the Samriddhi, the shared prosperity. So it's not the prosperity of one business school or as an island we are doing our business, but we have to create a network. So instead of competition, if we embrace collaboration between the business schools, we will be better equipping our nation to take the leadership in G20. It also talked about Suraksha. Suraksha is actually regional and global security. And then Prime Minister talked about the Sanskriti and Sabhyata. So that is called the culture and the civilization that he talked about, Prime Minister talked about. So this is the kind of framework in which we have to talk about the Race to Zero campaign. And we need to contribute as an academic institutions. So for business school, the framework basically that comes from the United Nations. It comes from, should I continue?
Carry on.
Yeah, okay. So it comes from the United Nations PRME framework. So as a business school, we need to look at PRME framework from its practical applicability. The UN PRME actually raises the profile of sustainability in the business school. That's what we all need to look at. It talks about the 6 principles, which are very much closely looked at by the business school, and many business schools have started adopting these principles. The first principle the United Nations PRME talks about. The PRME is actually the principles for responsible management education. So this is actually orienting the business school towards sustainability. So the first principle it talks about is the purpose. So when we talk about the purpose, it means that we have to develop the capacity of our students and our stakeholders like faculty and others to understand sustainability as the first thing, and second, the practice sustainability as the second layer of the thing. So that's the purpose that we all need to look into. Second, it talks about the values. So what is the value that we talk about? So we have to incorporate the values of sustainability into our activities, our curricula, and our practices. So sustainability is not something that we need to only teach, but it also need to be practiced at the campus level. So business school closely need to look at how their activities are oriented towards sustainability, or their curriculum is guided and the practice is guided towards sustainability. So that's the second principle. The third is it talks about is the method. So how to create educational framework, matrices, and the processes. So probably the idea of a green campus or the idea of a zero plastic campus, something like that. I'm just giving a random example. So business school can choose and look at the different framework and the matrices that it has to develop for themselves and made responsible towards. The fourth principle PRME talks about research. So research is what business school is very familiar with, and therefore we need to engage in conceptual and empirical research, which actually talks about sustainability, and joining hands with industry and doing this sustainability research is a big area where the business school can contribute to this field. The fifth it talks about is the partnership. So of course, partnership is very critical, and I am particularly of the opinion that business school should not operate in an environment of distrust with each other. We should operate in an environment of trust. And forum like AIMA has a big role to play in that, and they are actually doing a great job by bringing different business schools at one forum. But there is still a sense of skepticism that we can see, that the sense of competition, we need to convert that into a sense of cooperation, because that is going to create synergy among the business school, and we can use one another's resources, ideas, and develop the research framework. So partnership with industries and the other institutions, that is what. And the sixth one that he talks about is a dialogue. Of course, we need to facilitate a lot of dialogue and debate among the stakeholders. So how we take it to the grassroots, how we take it to the village, how we take it to the different stakeholders, create platform, that is so very important. The last part I would like to talk about, a couple of minutes I want to devote, is what we actually do in this regard. So what we have done is that we have adopted the SDGs, and this is the common practice that other business schools also are looking into, for adopting the particular SDGs as their contributory area. So we have adopted SDG 1, that is called no poverty, SDG 3, good health and well-being, SDG 4, quality education, and SDG 12, responsible consumption and production. So the activities are actually designed around achieving these 4 SDGs and contributing towards them, involved the input, process, and the outcome framework. And this is what we have been using. And then the overarching framework that we are using for designing the activities and mapping it with the PRME SDGs is called the PAR framework, PAR framework, that we have evolved our own. So PAR framework is about the practice. So sustainability at the level of practice. So where are we mapping it? How are we doing it? So what is the input? What is the process? What is the outcome? So this is what we have been doing it. Second is called the advocacy. So advocacy is that how we are spreading this to our stakeholders, how we are creating a debating platform out of it. And third is the research. So, that's what PAR is all about, the practice, advocacy, and research. If I can actually outline in the end some of the flagship things that we are doing, maybe an indicator of how the business schools can actually look into it. The couple of flagship programs that we have is, one is called the WISH program. So WISH is called the Winter Internship for Societal Happiness, where the students, it's a credit program that we have designed and is evaluated for the contributions that our students are making to the society in terms of sustainability, in terms of advocacy, in terms of research, in terms of supporting the NGOs. So all these kind of things that is happening under this program. The second that we have done is that we have developed something called the Happiness Laboratory. We call it H2O Laboratory. So Health and Happiness Laboratory. So this Happiness Laboratory has a technical software where we have the electrophotonic imaging technology installed in our laboratory, and where we can scan the individual and we can do the 7 chakras positioning. We can tell the individuals where your chakras are located and how deviated the chakras are and how aligned the chakras are. We also give them their stress profile. We also give them the energy flow in their body in different organs. And then we have developed a course called Science of Wellbeing and Happiness. So this is where we are contributing to the SDG on well-being in a big way. So, and this is one big research area for us, and we are actually publishing articles in Times of India. We are doing advocacy. We are actually lecturing at conducting workshops for the industries, top leaders from the industries. We are also doing it for the CEOs and also many business schools and students and faculty. We have been constantly doing this. This is one of our expertise, and we are contributing that in a big way. Adopting the school nearby for teaching the underprivileged is also a way to contribute to the SDGs. And networking is, of course, part of the larger network. Becoming the PRME is a good platform where the business school can actually network and can make a difference at the country level. So this is where Narsimhanji has taken a very big role, and we have joined them at the India level. So, these are some of the ways, and if there is more discussion on this aspect, then I can contribute and I can give some more idea about how it can be done. So these are a simple outline I have given, where the two objectives of G20 as far as sustainability is concerned is achieving net zero in the circular economy, and how it is linked to the SDGs, and how UNPRME is playing a role, and then how UNPRME principles can be adopted by business schools, and giving an example of my business school, how we are doing it. So this is exactly what I have spoken. Cycling, there are technologies, but I'm not an expert in this area, so I won't be able to say anything specifically about how it is being done. Maybe I'll request Professor Raj to talk about it. But this is very important aspect, as you are saying, that practice of recycling, reuse is basically about the circular economy that we are talking about. And there are many countries in the world I know which has actually making a lot of money out of the waste. And the waste can be recycled and it can be converted into, and waste is going to be a big issue everywhere in the world. And there are many countries which are buying waste. That also is happening on this earth. And therefore, waste management needs to be developed. And probably I will say that waste management practices needs to be strengthened. And India has the potentiality. They can talk about waste management in a big way, and it will benefit the country definitely in this whole cycle of reuse and recycling and things like that. As far as plastic is concerned, it's not. I don't see any reason or any future where there will be zero plastic everywhere, because the plastic is integral part of life. It has actually entered into our fiber. I may be sounding pessimistic, but maybe some technology will come which will replace plastic. Then it might happen. But reducing the use of plastic, or maybe differentiating the different kinds of plastic is going to make a lot of difference. So that kind of policy might help. And there is also a job problem as far as the developing countries like India is concerned, because job is, if you start talking about any sector where the bad goods are being produced, bad in the sense that it has more externalities and it started hurting the environment, and therefore you start putting some kind of tariff on that, some kind of policy on that to reduce the bad production. Then it also starts hurting the employment channel, because if you look at plastic, the plastic per se is actually giving a lot of employment. So the moment you start talking about this. So these are all complicated issues, and if you go by the basic theory of how environment plays out in different countries, we know that the environmental Puget curves, it talks about the reusable and the environmental quality upgradation happens only after a certain level of income is achieved by the country. So per capita income, if you compare with the rest of the world where these things are being happening, our per capita income is still very far low. And therefore, we have the problem of poverty. We also have the problem of unemployment. And therefore, it is not as simple as it looks like. So turning point of the EKC hypothesis for developing countries may become faster because of two reasons. So if you can emphasize, number one, on educating people on the benefits. So even the mere educating people on the benefits has actually changed quite a lot of scenario. So educating people, advocacy is very important. So advocacy has to be done at different levels, including the grassroots. Even the remotest of the area, the advocacy has to penetrate. And that is number one. And number two, which has worked in favor of the developing countries is the technological development, because a lot of environmental issues and problems are sorted out with the technology, appropriate technology, the green technology that has been. But developing green technology is also involving a lot of cost. So, question here is that who is going to bear that cost and all? And there is also at the international level something called the environmental protection. So there is something called environmental protectionism going on. So that is the flip side of the whole story, where the developing countries are actually using a high standard for their environment. Let's say the environmental quality measurement in developed countries are very, very high, and they are even much above the WTO standards. So they, let's say, for example, phytosanitary and sanitary standards. So phytosanitary and sanitary standards, as prescribed by the WTO, which is developed by the Codex Alimentarius, is found much lower for a country like US, France, and other countries. And they don't actually care about this phytosanitary and sanitary standards. They actually have evolved their own standards, which is much, much higher. Now, when the developing countries try to push some kind of supply chain, some kind of goods and services produced in developing countries towards the developed country, so what is happening is that even the WTO standard maintenance of WTO standard by the developing countries is becoming very, very problematic, because they are not able to do it, lack of money, and a lot of capital is required for that. But even that is not sufficient for developing countries. So what the developed country is using, they're using it as a protectionism, a kind of protectionism. So over a period of time, when environmental issues are being talked about from the last 20 years, let's say 30 years. So if you look at the trade, how it has happened between the developed and developing countries, it has grossly gone in favor of the developed countries. Very important, and G20 negotiations are really, as Dr. Agarwal has rightly said, negotiation is going to hold the key. That's number one. Second, geopolitics is of course going to come on way, because without geopolitics, nothing is going to happen. Central Asia market is important for India, and India has to bypass Pakistan some way, because the geopolitics as of now, as it stands today, we cannot say that India will be comfortable ties with the Pakistan. So it has to find some route to bypass, and Java port, kind of relationship with Iran and access to Afghanistan is also very important for India. So therefore, all these part of geopolitics. And a lot will depend upon how India is maintaining relationship, further strengthening its relationship with Russia, and how it is going to play out vis-a-vis China. So that's one important question that is going to be there on the table right now. But India is playing very cautiously. There's no doubt on that. Even the US relationship with India is going up and down, because US interest is being compromised by the decisions, some of the decisions that has been taken by India, and India has a different stand. Its international foreign policy actually is taking a different shape, and it's going on a different principle, and therefore India's might is going to emerge if India comes stronger on negotiation tables. That's what I strongly feel. And Central Asia market is going to be really, really critical for India. A G20 leadership is going to prove very critical.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhat.
Thank you, sir.
Prabhat.
My co-panelists, Dr. Raj Agarwal and Dr. Prabhat Pankaj.
Thank you, Dr. Sundaram. Thank you, Prabhat.
Thank you, sir.
Professor Prabhat.